But so let's say out of the 100% is 100 seats. That is not what it is, but just for visualization, right? There's 100 seats.
It's 500 something. Okay. 89 or something.
Just visualization.
Got it.
There's 100 seats. If a party gets 20%, that's 20 seats that they would get, right?
Okay.
But if they have 22 candidates that got elected, 22 district candidates that got enough votes, then 20 of those district candidates are part of those 20%. They get those 20% seats. And there's 2 separate candidates that didn't get into those 20%, but they did get elected. So they get a direct mandate. So they just simply pick up 2 chairs from the fucking closet and add them to the table. There's literally additional chairs that get built in every single time.
That's right. Okay, so that's why out of 598 seats, somehow we had 709 this last time.
Yes. So the directly voted candidates are part of the percentage, but they can be added onto the percentage in addition. Does that make sense? No.
Yes. They're just extras. So
it's a stupid system.
So hold on. If then they get 20%, yeah, and there's only 18 representatives that got voted in.
Then there's other party people that can be called up.
Then they choose 2 party people to just fill those seats.
Yes. You get your 20%. Those are guaranteed because you won 20%. So the CDU actually and the CSU gets a lot of extra mandates because Bavaria is very heavily voting additional mandates.
Why does it mean Federal Day?
Okay, so Tag has a second meaning in Germany. If you ever went to like a business trip, like a meeting, like a long meeting or whatever, where like the company meets and talks about important things.
You mean like a seminar?
Yeah, that is called Tagung. Tagung. And so the Bundestag...
No, but hold on, Tagung.
The Bundestag...
Tagung means day of, or what?
No, that's just like... I don't really know why. It's old German, probably. But so, the Bundestag is constantly seminaring about issues.
Federal. It's a federal seminaring.
Yeah. They're federally seminaring.
But why didn't they call it Bundestagen? Like you just said, it was called a Tagen. Tagung.
No, the Tagung is the literal actual like event, but like the building and the like institution of it, it's just Tag.
So a Tag can be a building of conference, a conference building.
Kind of, like, yeah. You know what we're not mentioning at all because it's not up for election at the moment is our Senate.
The Bundes other part.
Bundesrat, where all the rats are.
Bundesrat.
Yeah.
But you guys don't elect for that, or is that?
We don't elect.
Vote.
We don't vote for it specifically because that is made up of 2 representatives from each state. But you don't vote who the actual person is. I have no idea who the person is for my state because it doesn't matter.
Who votes for them?
No, I don't know. It really doesn't matter. But what do
you mean it doesn't matter? These people
doesn't.
Are they not influencing legislation?
They're just more neutral. They're more policy focused. They're not...
What do you mean policy focused?
They don't have personality. The Bundestag usually comes up with stuff and the Bundesrat is like, okay, yeah, fine.
Why even have the Bundesrat?
But they could also say no.
Why would they say no if the people say yes?
Okay, because you're not listening. So for the Bundesrat, each state gets 2 representatives, similar to the Senate in America. But the 2 representatives are, because in each state we have the exact same sort of election like we do for the whole thing. And there's also a coalition in each state.
Oh. And that coalition chooses who goes to the Bundesrat.
Yeah, and so it's 1 person from each party from that state's coalition. So if your state has, let's say, a red-green coalition leading the state, then a red person and a green person gets to go to the Senate and sits there and it's just like, I am green, so I have to say we need to do something for the trees.
But what I mean is, how do you get any laws passed? How do you change?
The two parties that decide to work together,
Yeah.
they will work together. They will agree. And honestly...
And as long as they do things, then the Bundesrat and everybody else just follows along. So they're all useless. They're just there so that people will get paid to do something.
Yeah.
What you call useless jobs? Isn't there a German word for this?
Arbeitsbeschaffungsmaßnahme?
Yeah. The Bundesrat is an Abuchuschagoskarakuskarafrafen.
Okay, Bundestag is an Arbeitsbeschaffungsmaßnahme. We do not need 700 people sitting there.
Yeah, but you vote for them. The Bundesrat is just random people.
Yeah, but it's like 30 random people. We can pay for 30 people. Do we need
Oh, really? It's only
700?
30? So it's kind of like the Senate?
It's 16 states times 2. That's
Okay.
32. You also have to think about, okay, so the SPD, the CDU...
Just letting you know.
I know, but you're not listening. You asked, and I'm explaining.
Yeah.
The SPD, the CDU, and the Green Party, they're not that far off on their policies, if we're being really honest. So there's a website where you can take a quiz on like, what are the issues that are important to you and how are you leaning in these issues, you know? And if you do those, it'll be like, okay, but clearly you are like 80% aligned with the Green Party and 78% aligned with the SPD and like 75% aligned with the CDU. So, will they agree at the end of the day? Probably.
But like you said, you'll never have a red, black, and green situation.
That's because it's not usually necessary. That's like saying, like then you're going overboard because then you'll end up with like 75%. And
that seems pretty freaking great.
Then you're just overly powerful.
Yeah, but that's great.
The ideal situation, and that's sort of how I grew up, is you have one party like, so the SPD and the CDU when I was a kid would both be maybe at like 35 to 40%. So they wouldn't work together because they were both too powerful to want to work with each other. They would each just choose a little party to be like their little buddy. And then they'd be like, okay, like the SPD and the Green Party worked together for a few years, right? And the SPD was like, okay, look, we'll do all the fun things. Green, I guess you'll take care of like the environment and children. Who cares? Right? Okay. And the SPD took care of all the fun things, right? But then in the mid like 2000s, votes were like, and nobody could get to anything without the two big parties, the SPD and the CDU, saying, okay, I guess we'll mix together. Like it was like CDU was like 30 and SPD was like 20, so they were like,
and that's when Angela Merkel's reign.
Yeah, so they were able to do it, and all the little parties were the opposition. But it's not normal for all the little parties to be opposition. And this time now, it's the first time that three parties are sort of at like 20-25%. So they're all equally powerful, but they're not really powerful. And that's going to be kind of interesting. But the two of them are going to join, and they might need a teensy-tiny buddy.
And it all depends on which party gets the most votes. So if SPDs get the most votes, which is what's projected, then they'll get to choose who their buddies are.
And they're more likely to choose green as their buddy.
What about blue? No, not blue. What about, pink?
You would think that the social and the socialist party would be friends. But the social party has always really tried to distance themselves from the socialists because they don't want to seem extreme. They agree on kind of a lot of things, but the left is just extreme.
But if they form that coalition, then they can defeat the CDU unless
yes,
the CDU decides to get yellow and
the CDU
blue.
And the no, nobody's going to choose blue. Blue, that's not even ever going to come up as a suggestion on Sunday night.
Okay, so if anything, what you're dealing with, again, because I see things bipartisanly, is you're seeing it would be the black and yellow versus the red, pink, and green.
Well, black could work with green, but they've kind of been actively campaigning against each other.
Exactly. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah. I agree.
That's what it seems like. It seems like it's going to be black, yellow versus
Personally,
red, pink, blue. I mean, red, pink, green. And red, pink, green would win if they combined their powers.
red and green could choose yellow.
Oh, why does anybody want to choose yellow? Oh, except for the blacks.
Yellow, even though you say they're Republican and they're a little bit they're libertarian in that sense. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things they do is sort of middle ground. It's just they're like, oh, yeah,
that's just like libertarians. There's a lot of things I love about libertarians. No war. They don't want to get into war, right? They want to legalize drugs. They essentially, they want to.
They want free business.
But the reasoning is because they want extremely less government.
Yeah, I know.
And that just wouldn't work overall.
So they could say, hey, yellow, you can be our teensy-tiny buddy. We'll give you one thing to do.
Legalize drugs.
The problem is the one thing that the yellow's going to want to do is the fucking finance. And you cannot help businesses and help the environment. Like, you cannot be yellow and green at the same time. Yeah. So that's an issue, but technically it would work. But so I'm sort of hoping for red, green, and I'm hoping they'll both get enough percent to just do it, the two of them.
Otherwise, you think they'll actually look at yellow over pink? Nobody
has ever asked pink.
Why? Pink is such a good one.
I know. Because you have Bernie on your shirt. Bernie would go to pink summer camp and come back more radical than he is now. Angela Merkel was the most progressive of her party.
Yeah.
And she was still against gay marriage, not a feminist, and like, not for the environment. So like...
Yeah, it's surprising that she's not for the environment, considering Germany overall is for the environment.
I mean, there is a general pro-environment thing happening in Germany. Germany is, in general, we're just like, oh, we like the outdoors, and sure, we'll recycle, we care.
Yeah.
But just, we still prefer our cars.
She did the deal with the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, and we prefer the car, well, and that's not just her, that the SPD has a big part in that. I mean, and
yeah, but the SPD is like the Democrats, right? Where they just like bend over for like any other reason, like, oh, okay.
But and we've supported the cars for too long. And it's like, but anyway, Merkel was fine because of her standing in the world.
She was an incredible world leader.
Right?
She was an incredible world leader.
But I'm not gonna go for like a cheap copy of Merkel that doesn't stand well in the world, and that is just some old boring white dude with like more conservative views than her. Like, I'm not going steps backwards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.